Okay, welcome back. And if you are still hungry, please feel free to bawa your roti bakar, your oats and cereal ke depan, and just sambil-sambil dengar, sambil-sambil makan. Alright, go ahead. Don't worry. If you feel there's a need to do that, by all means. Now, I'm counting down the time because I don't have much time left with you, probably an hour plus. So I would definitely value the remaining hours dengan kamu. Okay, hati saya semakin sedih because the saat-saat yang I will spend with you become shorter by the minute. So this is where I truly hope you will drop any barrier of communication and start asking me any questions that you are in doubt, that you think you may need clarity. Please feel free to do so. Alright? Now, I understand the anxiety that some of you may have, especially when it comes to Liew, because you are coming out from your comfort zone. From what I'm telling you, I'm just alerting you, there will be a lot of work. I'm not saying forever there will be a lot of work. When you start the engine in the beginning, you will encounter challenges, you will encounter difficulty. But I want you to remember, don't ever give up, because whatever that you're adopting ODL, you can actually eventually use it in your conventional work. Only. Because I've seen from the institution where I came from last time was a 100% ODL institution. They are now offering conventional programs. The ODL lecturers actually are using the technologies and materials that they have developed in ODL in the conventional learning. It really helps the conventional learners. So please be mindful. This is something that is going to benefit the whole spectrum of learners here. So if you were to ask me on the Kopa ODL, this is the summary that I will tell you differentiate between Kopa and the Kopa ODL. Okay, now the first one, obviously you would know, same. The second one is the IT facilities with all the various infrastructures, whether it is physical or it could be the technology apps that you are using. Whether you are using Mentimeter, whether you are using Moodle, whether you are using Canva, whether you are using Kahoot, pelbagai teknologi yang boleh digunakan di sini. Then F2F tutorial, I've explained to you just now, you shouldn't make this tutorial session mandatory. You can have this tutorial physical or virtual. But for the start, don't use virtual. Okay, because you want to win the confidence of these students over first. Then learning management system. Again, learning management system. Remember, we were talking about policies just now. There must be top-down policies. Top-down policies, let's say you're looking at ODL policies. Policies on how to conduct tutorial, how many times of tutorial that you need, how many hours of tutorial. That is one policy of ODL. Second policy is LMS. The policy is who is going to be in charge of every LMS. The subject lecturer, the materials are going to be lodged by the subject lecturer, or the materials you have to send it to ADEC and ADEC will upload in the LMS. All these are policies. Then the other policy is related to LMS is those of you who are putting up course materials in LMS. What is the format like? Like I mentioned to you just now, you have intro, you have LOs, then you have synopsis, then you have kandungan, you have self-test, self-activities, references, glossary. So these are the things that you need to have as a policy of LMS. And of course, the other policy that you look at ODL is how do you do the monitoring and review? How frequent do you do it? You do it every semester, you do it every year. Siapa yang involved in the monitoring and review exercise?
How do you perceive it? Is a different lecturer will be the same and different lecturer will teaching the
Okay. Remember, usually the policy will say if you are the subject lecturer, you are going to write the same. You are going to be the content writer. So when you are the content writer, you can be the cikgu as a tutor, or I can appoint Hadi as the tutor, anyone. So what is important now is how do you make sure if you appoint someone else as a tutor is able to deliver what you want. This is where you have to conduct tutorial training. You have to conduct tutorial training for Hadi because Hadi is my tutor. This is your tutor. So you have to align what is it that you want Hadi to do as a subject matter expert, what you want Hadi to do as a tutor in facilitating the non-instructional support. This is where you go about. Because sometimes there will be a time that the materials are not written by MAS. MAS will appoint someone out there. MAS may appoint me as a lecturer from another institution to write the materials for UM. That has happened as well. If MAS load is too high, you do that. Now, for a start, the same, again, I would advise you, don't rely on one writer. Because you're not simply in the cepat mungkin, right? At least get two writers, content writers to tulis satu sim. But if your field is so specialized, you tak ada content writer line, you just rely on yourself. The reason why I warn you against using one writer is that anything happens to the writer, the sim tak akan dikeluarkan, dipublish on time. Okay? And now, the other policy related to SIM is, what is the development time of the SIM that you need to schedule? Let's say today you tell Andy Liew, I want you to write a SIM on consumer behavior, the cause of consumer behavior. You must tell me, when do I need to complete this write-up of the SIM? So meaning, you must have a QA process in the development of the SIM. This will come under the policy. When I say QA process, where is the structure of your content coming from? Who holds the blueprint of the course? To me, the blueprint is actually your table 4, right? If you're familiar with MQA documentation, table 4 is actually your blueprint. Because table 4 will tell you when is it going to be offered, synopsis, CLOs, penjajaran constructive, content, references, assessment, and sebagainya. That is the blueprint of your SIM development for a start. Every lecturer, you must have that blueprint. After the blueprint, siapa yang approve the blueprint untuk lecturer to begin writing? It could be your academic body, it could be your faculty, it could be your senate. This is the QA we will talk about in the second session, which is now. Then after that, when I write, this is where, remember this morning I told you about the policy, how many chapters? Is it 10 chapters or is it 11 chapters? You must have a range. Meaning every one of you must standardize from 8 to 10. It cannot be here 20 chapters, here 10 chapters, here 3 chapters. Then your SIM tak selaras anymore. So this is a policy. Okay? So you have to have another policy whereby, do you want me and you, the writer, to complete all the 10 chapters, only then I give it back to Adet, and Adet you do the instructional design work? No, to me it's no. You don't do that. Probably you will say, after 2 chapters, you hantar to Adet, then Adet will review. So when you hantar to Adet, the QA is, Adet will say, I want a moderator to look at the content. Because you are writing something like a book, that is going to be published, but it's going to be published in your LMS. But when people get hold of it, people will start sharing the whole wide world. So if the quality of your SIM is not there, can you imagine macam mana dia akan tarnish the reputation of the institution?
So I want to ask you, so let's say the lecturers is the content writer, you have another team who are doing the instructional design.
Okay.
What's that?
Yeah. So there are 2 options here. In the early stages, you can appoint like 20 instructional designers. So apa-apa yang saya tulis, go in. Dan kita nampak model ini not viable. You see what happened is that if I finish completing all my courses, what is this 20 instructional designer going to do? So apa yang berlaku sekarang is that you may have ID kat sana, but minimal. It could be 5 or or it could be 10 in the whole institution. Tetapi, they will transfer the ID knowledge to you, the writer. That means the writer now bukan saja content, but you also have the knowledge of the ID. So as you write, you are going to take the ID knowledge and write and write and write and write. You also will be given a template or a format that is also ID. Kalau tak, every one of you will come with different format, different font type, different font size, different justification, right alignment, left alignment, semua bercampur aduk. So this is where they transfer the ID knowledge to the writer now. So when you appoint writers, katakan you appoint internal writers, there must be a training by Adet. That when you write each course material, this is what you need to do, A, B, C, D. This is what you cannot do, D, E, F. Faham? This is the QA part. So this is the QA part related to the ID. I haven't finished the QA part related to the content. I'm the writer. You must get somebody to vet my content. In case I silap in whatever that I mentioned, habis. Okay, reputation will be affected. Alright, so there must be a moderation on my content before you release into the LMS. Okay, so you have to have a QA process. After moderation, katakan the moderator kata, Mas, you kena tukar ni. How to close the loop yang Mas dah tukar. Meaning I have to know that Mas will tukar in the form that Mas has said, okay, agree, or Mas may say, I disagree with what you have proposed, Andy. Then I will have to look at it. Then we have to come and discuss. We have to discuss to see whether to change or not to change. After that, when the whole thing is done, ID completes, who gives the rubber stamp and say, yes, boleh di-upload ke LMS lah. There must be a QA process. Otherwise, you mark my word, anything happen dalam kandungan course material itu, apa-apa yang berlaku, then they will start cari scapegoat. Is it the writer, is it the ID, or is it the person uploading it to the LMS? There must be somebody that gives the rubber stamp, go upload. These are the QA processes. Okay? Now, I haven't finished the QA processes on the development time. In the past, let me tell you, it was terrible. One course to develop, you need 18 months. 18 months. For example, you are going to offer a program in 2025. You have to start developing your courses 18 months before 2025 because the time you need to do what I told you just now take 18 months. Okay? Now, tak ada dah. I've seen people can actually complete this within 3 to 5 months because number one, dia tak guna single writer anymore. Number two, dia guna technology. Certain text base, dia mungkin guna video. That means dia tak explain lagi guna text. Dia kata, watch this video, and from this video, dia akan tulis apakah yang akan dipelajari that you will learn from this particular video. Then after that summary, then there will be exercises. I want you to answer question 1, 2, 3, 4. Exercises, then answers, feedback. You remember another way of engaging with the learner is your feedback. Your regular feedback. If you ask me to do this, do that, do this, do that, and there's no feedback to me, I will drop out also. Because I don't find any value in doing the exercises now. So if it's same, your feedback must be in the same. Okay, your responses must be in the same. So which is why I'm telling you now, the policy related to the same and the policy related to the development of same must be in the ODL policy. This is a policy that's going to guide everyone. Tak kira you pergi faculty mana, the process is the same. Okay? Any question? Yes. Okay, the response time usually, let's say in the same, dia tak ada response time because the response is memang embedded in the same data. But if it is a questions in the forum, that means you have to have your policy again on the LMS, right? The policy is you can say 24 hours working day or 48 hours of working day. So if you don't have this policy there, I as a learner, I will pandai and say, I have this asked you this question 3 hours ago. Still no answers. That means I don't know that your policy says 24 hours or 48 hours, right? We are not aligned. So you must align the expectation of what the institution has imposed and what the learner is expecting. This is another policy. Alright, policy on the response time. All will go under LMS. Okay, policy on the cikgu to go in and interact with them in the forum. Maybe you can say at least once a day or at least once in every 2 days. Kalau tak, you will find that some forum in the faculty, the cikgu langsung tak muncul in the forum. Okay, this is where you have to control your quality from the academic side. Which is why I'm telling you today's session is just an introduction. You cannot, how to say, menghayati sepenuhnya lagi. You have to have a separate workshop that looks at LMS, that looks at SIM development, that looks at PMR, program monitoring and review for the entire ODL spread. But at least from today's session, you are now exposed to what is expected out of you as a cikgu of ODL. Okay? Any questions? So LMS, digital library, again, you have to have digital library all over. Whatever books, whatever journals, whatever articles, e-books, and to put it into digital library. You cannot be subscribing hard copies anymore. Oh no. A digital library for the whole university, but the cost will point to the digital library. So whatever references yang you senaraikan in your SIM, technically it should appear in your digital library collection. Okay? Any more questions? Then specific unit department, as I mentioned to you just now, academic staff. Now the academic staff here, you are the course coordinator. You can also be the tutor. You can also appoint tutors dari luar. That is the beauty of ODL. Dia tak control by these restrictions that your enrollment number is 100. 100 saja. Anything more than 100, sorry, you come next week. No. You can still take it. Okay? Now let me come back to this where I forgot to ask you. Remember I told you the class size number for the tutorial class, agaknya berapa? If you can still remember anyone? 30. What happened if I have 31? 15, 16. Okay, technically you will say I not comply because of 130. Do you rasa ini a very viable economy model? Takkan. So this is why I'm now advising you, yes, 1 to 30. But you bagi yourself stretch limit. Paling banyak, you allow 3. Okay? If more than 3, then you open 2 classes. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay? But I'm not asking you to write in your policy. This is only for special case saja. Special cases punya benda, usually jangan tulis dalam policy. Because dia akan ikat kaki dan tangan kamu. Special case you consider based on the merit of the case. Faham? Why I'm asking you or trying to ask you to explore plus 3 is because during your tutorial classes, not all 33 will attend. not all 23 will attend. If you can get at least 80% attendance, you can bersyukur dah. Alright, you can go to the temple, you can go to the church and give Terima Kasih Tuhan. I have 80% attendance. It's very, very good. Okay? Kalau 100% you kena buat kenduri kesyukuran.
Kalau minimum,
Minimum you still have to conduct. Yeah, but again, so in your program, when you offer a program, there is always a minimum number yang kata this is the break-even number, right? If I tell you your break-even number for the program is 10, anything below 10, you won't set up the class. This is faculty punya decision. Because when you look at break-even number, you cannot look at many things. The cost of your room rental, electricity, semua benda, the cost of different people, the lecturers, the admin staff, kan banyak cost yang akan terlibat. That one you have to work out in your faculty punya meeting, your kewangan when you do budgeting. You have to have a minimum. Cannot. You tak boleh kata yang tadi kita kata satu, kena buka. Wah, sakit hati kalau saya adalah orang yang pegang the budget. Okay. Any question? Policies. There are banyak policy yang akan muncul.
Hello, okay. I'm Sharil. Actually, I have no idea whether this is a question regarding to what you have presented just now. Actually, I just wondering how we want to make sure that students follow our ODL is our real student. Because I'm afraid maybe one day there's this ODL will be something like a business. Ada orang bagi service untuk jadi student and then something like that. So how we can do maybe related policies that we can make sure that is our real student.
So if you want to make sure this is your real student, of course you must have virtual, right? Either virtual bersemuka or physical bersemuka. Alright, whether he wants to genetically clone atau do cosmetic surgery is beyond our control lah. Tapi the 100% online and you tak jumpa dia at all, there's a possibility that people will do that business. It's just like the ghostwriter sekarang, siapa yang nak buat assignment, you boleh employ orang that they will work for you, and now lagi dahsyat, your thesis dia pun boleh buat, dia boleh train kamu macam nak jawab soalan Viva. Ada. So you have to be more intelligent than these people when you do conduct the Viva.
Because we have one group that we come up with something in Snapchat. Kita betul replicate our faces, and then online kita akan nampak, oh ni macam orang, something like that. So how we want to handle all these things?
I think this one you biar hari kiamat handle dia. Because I know there are some system yang tak ada 100% bulletproof kan, memang. Just like the online proctoring tadi, kita kata sampai algoritma nampak hidung, kening, anak mata semua, it cannot be 100% bulletproof juga. So the same way, kita tak boleh 100% bulletproof. As much as we don't want to happen, but sometimes it may happen, I understand. Alright? So because if you try to fikir benda-benda ni, kita menjadi how to say, we become very demotivated. Saying whatever I do, there is people trying to cari jalan pendek ke, shortcut ke, scam saya ke, right? We do the level best. At this point of time, this is what I will do to verify your identity. If this is really somebody else yang bukan dia, then I think we have to deal with it seriously. Okay? I don't know how much money they will spend to do that. To have that false identity, like a fugitive. Ini macam tengok gambar-gambar Netflix really. Okay? First, you identify the identity through the identity card, semua tu, right? Then after that, of course, the identity card will have the pictures, and of course, you say technology, kalau you had Mission Impossible, all this identity card will change. Alright? But really, that is really beyond our control. What I can tell you, if you can bring them physically on board so that you will know, Kira, whether this is a real Andy Liew or false Andy Liew, but I know at least now this is the Andy Liew that I know that I register that should be with me. Okay?
Your concern is that we have to do it 20% face to face or physical, but we are already doing it 100% online.
Oh, okay. Now,
So
you can still use the Tampa bike because the reason why I'm asking you to do 20% because I want you to engage with the learner to get their confident, to be convinced that you are actually connecting with them. But there's always a turning. This is all CQI. Hidup ini is always penambahkan, right? What may be good at that point may not be good now. What may be not good at that point may be good now. So you have to go into that mindset. Kalau tak, again, you akan dapat darah tinggi, kencing manis, cholesterol, everything you get. Okay? So it's alright, don't worry. If you think what the 100% online is good model, you have to check whether it's good or not. You sendiri will know. Good in the sense that you see high engagement, performance of students, good survey that the students say, wow, cikgu, I like your class. That will be an indicator of that is actually a good model, right? If that is actually a good model, you may not even want to do the 80%. You may want to do 100%. Do you see? So these are the things that you use data to make an informed decision. Okay? Any more questions? Interject if you have anything else. Yeah. So again, do you see this capacity building is very important? Capacity building is very, very important. The training in terms of kaedah pengajaran, training in terms of the technology, trainings in terms of the pedagogy, training in terms of how you assess, training in terms of how you engage. All this training is very important. To me, ADEC will continue to provide this training on a continuous basis. This is not going to be the first, this is not going to be the last. There are many, many series. So as I said, the training can be training on pedagogical aspect. The training can be on how to use adoption of technologies. The training can be looked at how to assess the student workload, right? Student assessment. So pelbagai jenis training in an ODL that you have to attend. Now, you remember this is training on the staff. You don't forget there is another user on the other end, which is your student. So this is where one of the learning support services for ODL is your induction program, your orientation program. If you do not have this, most of the time, you will find problem among students. Students don't know how to use the app. Students don't know how to use your LMS. Students don't know how to log into the digital library. Students do not know how to use your 30 Students do not know how to enroll in the courses. Students do not know how to write to you when there is problem. Okay? Many types of problems you will encounter if you don't train the students. So you have to induction, orientation, train the students on the technology, number one. The second one, you train the students on what ODL is all about. This one is important. If you don't train them that, they will come to class, they will expect you to lecture. They don't even read the notes. They will come to the class, sir, can you tell me this concept? Explain this, I don't understand. Imagine you have a class of 30 and you have only 10 people like that in a class. You cannot finish your tutorial in 2 hours. And your tutorial may cover 2 or 3 topics out of the 10 topics. So impossible to finish 6 hours of tutorial for the whole semester if the students are still expecting a traditional lecture from you. And sometimes, because we are cikgu yang prihatin, we will explain. And tiba-tiba we realize, wow, God, it's over the time. And what happened is, mungkin dia punya schedule, there's another lecture, another tutorial coming on, and you have to go for another classes. So do you see macam mana this akan disrupt the whole ecosystem? So you have to train the learners bukan saja on technology, on what to expect in ODL. Now, there's another thing I forgot to mention is, as a cikgu, when you're conducting tutorial classes, you have to do pecahkan kepada 3 peringkat your tanggungjawab. The tanggungjawab is, what are you doing pre-tutorial? What do you have to do pre? What do you have to do during? What do you have to do post-tutorial? I'll give you one very simple example. Next Saturday is my first tutorial of the course I'm teaching. This week itself, I'll go into the online forum and tell them, class, I'm so excited that our first tutorial will begin next week. Alright? How are you coping with the scene that I have loaded or uploaded in the LMS? So people will come ready, right? People will start giving answers. And this is where you want engagement, you link pelajar ke pelajar, collaborative learning. Then you will say, Mas, what do you think about what Zul said? Can you comment on that? Then Zul, what do you think about what Wong said? Comment on that. Do you agree with what Wong has just said about this, that? So do you say that it is like you are promoting collaborative learning before the tutorial? You invoke the interest kat sana dah. Right? Then you can even say, okay, I'm going to give you 1 or 2 quiz questions of what is coming in the tutorial now. Can you tell me this? That pre-tutorial itself, you dah naikkan semangat dia untuk datang tutorial. Not only one day. It's like a series, you know. Today I said that 3 days later I come back again, 3 days later I come back again, before the actual day of tutorial. And this is why I'm telling you, you will need more time for ODL. You cannot say for 3 credits I only give you 1 credit. Right? The beban kerja, I don't think it is fair. If you are really doing what I'm telling you to do lah. If you are not doing what I'm telling you to do, then it's fair to give you 1 beban kerja of that 3 credit. Alright? So this is pre, during. During is where you go into the class and do what you need to do. The flipped classroom approach. After.
Pro and cons. For some students, if you are too proactive before pre the tutorial, they might be afraid to join the tutorial. Oh, before tutorial lagi dia sudah bagi macam-macam di tutorial.
So you kena simpan the main course kat tutorial. The pre tu you bagi dessert lah. Bagi egg tart sedikit, kacang gajus, kacang tanah, kemudian ais kacang cendol sedikit.
The students they might have a different.
So you kena pandai-pandai. So you must know what is it that you want to present on the main course. The main course you bagi seekor kambing ke, seekor lembu yang dibakar ke, steak ke, right? Ikan yang di steam yang besar-besar ke, pura yang mahal-mahal tu you serve kan the main course tutorial. Pre, during, post. Post also important. Post you kena bungkus the whole thing. You have to summarize in post. And you have to check whether there's any kecacatan tak pemahaman during. It will appear in the post. So do you see when you do this, you already covered what is in your unit 1. So when they go to the unit 2, there's a continuity there. Because your knowledge in your unit 1 is required in your unit 2. So do you see how you cement the learning? Okay. Alright. Now when I ask you to do pre-post into semua, you have to also evaluate how you're going to write that in the forum. You don't go and tell your head of department one day, say, Andy Liew told me I must constantly engage. Every hour you type satu baris. Every hour you type satu baris. Even dalam kereta, traffic jam, you type another baris. Cikgu dalam traffic jam sekarang, yang tunggu cikgu balik. No. Okay? So you have to have that skills of communicating that dengan your learner. You have to engage with the learner. I will always say, tanya diri sendiri. Did I engage with my learner? If you didn't, then you are going down jalan yang tak akan berjaya. Okay. So this is students orientation, regional learning centers. This is when you look at OUM. OUM, you look at the website yang akan publish yang terdapat 36 buah pusat wilayah merentasi the whole Malaysia. The reason why they are pusat wilayah because they want their local presence, their presence in the local community. Whether you want that or not. You want which state do you want to go to? Sabah, Sarawak, Penang, Johor, Kelantan. Where do you want to? You have to decide for yourselves. Okay, I'm not asking you to set up a branch campus, but I'm asking you whether is there a need for you to have that regional center. And regional center adalah tempat-tempat yang ada kemudahan class tutorial. Meaning you want to conduct a tutorial there. You want to have discussion group for your learners there. You do it there and there. Okay? Questions? So this is what I told you. The same thing. Actually, this is what I run through with you. Okay. This one. Remedial support. This is important. If you notice a student yang tak datang for a tutorial, first tutorial, you have to immediately contact, whether through WhatsApp, through forum, tanya, are you okay? Is there anything that Cikgu can help you? I didn't see you present in the class. Alright? That means you want to show your concern, not to go into the forum, Cikgu rasa duka cita ataupun frustrated. Cikgu dah prepare berjam-jam tetapi nampak saja 3 orang yang hadir. What happened to the 27 orang? If I were to be the 27 orang, I would senyap hide behind the curtain. Right? So your skills of finding the answers, psychological skills, kena ada. Yes, kena tambah satu training psychology. Okay, kepada orang-orang daripada akademi bahasa Melayu, tak apa, dia boleh berpuisi, berpantun, bersajar. Okay, tetapi orang-orang yang engineering tu, go direct. I don't condone with this. There is no standards, no criteria. Okay, there is no alignment of elbows between you and me. There is no outcome-based education. Okay, so you kena pandai-pandai when you interact with the learners. So this is where your support, developmental, remedial support is important. If you think Liew is weak, you pull me aside and guide me individually. You don't tayang saya di the rest of the world and say, I'm a weak student. Oh, this one I cannot take it, man. Alright? So you have to be very careful. Your remedial support has to be one-to-one. Call, meet up, virtual meeting, give more materials to dia belajar. Okay? Yes.
You talk about the diversity of students, right? And yeah, imagine that we have diverse students. I'm wondering about the presenting materials themselves. And you said that we have to present, chapter by one by one, not to give them too much at the same time. Imagine that if I have many students with diverse levels, and I present, for example, the first week, the materials for the first week. Other students may want to have a look. They may want to go through the whole chapters, the whole weeks. But can I just present, should I present, it's just like advice, should I present chapter by chapter, regardless of the diversity and the types of students I have, or take in mind that I will hide assessments and quizzes and something like that?
So I think whenever we do something, we have to look at what is our common practice. If the common practice is say before the tutorial begins or before the semester begins, all your material should be uploaded. Technically, it should be like that, right? It should be uploaded. course, there are different various learning styles. That one you have to address separately using another method. Perhaps all your materials you break it into chunk size. You could have videos, bite-sized video to guide everyone, not only with the weaker students, but with this video, it guides everyone, number one. Number two, you have activities at various intervals. Whether I'm good or I'm a weak student, these activities will help me. Alright? So you have bite size, you have activities, you have self-test, and you have regular feedback. You have feedback. That means whatever that you do, you must feedback to these people that is weak or moderately good. Feedback. Okay? Fourth one, I'm weak, you give feedback, you also push materials to me, additional materials to me, that are not in your original state. That you think you need this prerequisite knowledge, you need this prior knowledge, so you push it to me, push it to the weaker students. Well, Andy, I think maybe you should look at microeconomics from this aspect, because the macro part you seem to be lacking. So maybe enhance this part so that you understand the macro part. So you push it to the individual learner. So it means you are doing personalized learning style now. Okay? So this personalized learning style, again, you've got to pull from the back-end data analytics. Moodle is going to tell you that. Whether Andy is a weak student or Andy is a good student. Weak in the sense that you have to see data flashing to you. Weak could be, I didn't attend, or when I attempted, most of the time I get the wrong answers. Your system will be able to tell you that already. So this is where you have to go in and zoom and give remedial support to these weaker students. Okay? If let's say from the data you find out that the whole class is actually weak, that means you really have to redesign the materials. Redesign not to change your content, but to find ways that would allow them to understand better, to pave way for them to see what is actually in your learning materials. Okay? So it is not like satu kali you buat, forever it will be your material. Sometimes over time it changes because of the different perspective of the learners that you have. But at the end of the day, your materials become lebih matang. Alright, any question? You've gone through this, right? Okay. Now, a very quick one. I've actually told you all the learning support services plus QA in the same. If I were to ask you to identify what is it that you think is in 1, 2, 3, 4. These are all the learning support services in the ODL. There are two continuum of time, continuum of space or place. What is in one? What is the kind of support services and ODL will be in one? Anyone? What is it? Same place, same time. Tutorial classes, right? You ask all of them to come at the same time, you ask all of them to come at the same place. So that is your tutorial classes. The next one, different time, same place. Different time, same place. That means the pelajar will come at different time, but it's the same place. It could be your study room, your library, physical library, when they come different time. But lab also boleh, kecuali there is no pengajaran. It is mainly for themselves. Alright, or it could be the regional center. Remember, regional center yang ada di pelbagai states, they go there to do self-study. Okay? Then this one. Same time, different places. Online tutorial, a virtual tutorial, right? I zoom in, everybody zoom in, all over the place at the same time. Okay, last one. Last one is actually your backbone, your LMS, your teacher library. These are all your learning support services. Your SIM is also the last one. Okay? So do you see when you look at learning support services, it covers everything there. And of course, we discussed about the development of SIM here just now. What are the good QA practices? Okay? So let's say, ask yourself this question. When you are developing your own SIM, you have to start off with course planning or structure. Remember your blueprint. After that, you have to decide what kind of media am I using. Am I going to use videos? Am I going to use audio, podcasts? Am I going to use gamification platform? Whether I want to use Mentimeter, Kahoot? Am I going to use virtual reality, augmented reality? Am I going to use YouTube video? You have to decide what kind of media choices that you're going to use in your SIM. Then barulah you start developing and implement. Of course, you roll out, you upload. Then anything that you do, it is always about the CQI. Okay? You know, remember what I told you just now, in the past it was 18 months that you need to take the lead time to develop one SIM. Now it can be 3 to 5 months. One reason is because you have multiple writers. Second reason, because you have this. Your media choices. That is why you can shorten it. Okay? Now, in open distance learning, there is one istilah that they term it as dripping, drip course material. Drip. Drip is like when you open the PD air, the air menitis. That means they didn't go down menitis. Dripping of the course material. Dripping may happen if I plan to complete my course material within 3 months, which is 1 month before the semester commences. For example, this is your policy. But somehow, when it comes to writing that course material, the content writer has some emergency matters to attend. Alright? Or the content writer mungkin sakit, both also sakit, cannot complete on time. So this is where you got to parachute other content writers to come in and help. So when you parachute them in, you cannot complete on time. So you have to do dripping. Dripping means by the start of the semester, out of the 10 units, I can only give you 5 units. I cannot give all the 10 units. That is what we call dripping. But you must also have a policy. In all your course material you are dripping into, when do you expect me as a cikgu to upload all the other remaining 5? If there are 10 units there, you may say in the second month of the commencement of the semester, all the remaining chapters must go into the LMS. This is a policy. Okay? This kind of policy you have to prepare because you don't know. The dripping may happen. You may plan so well that 1 month before, all the 10 chapters will be up in the LMS, but it doesn't happen. Okay? Alright? Any question? Your policy. Especially this one, the first one. The policy. You don't believe me? You check your courses that you're offering. You look at all the open universities, whether local or abroad, whether they have the same course that what you're offering. If they do have, question is, do you want to develop sendiri or you want to buy from them? That means you license. Do you want to go down that pathway? I'm not asking you to choose, telling you the possibilities. Second, you create from fresh. You create, sendiri create. Third, you adapt. Have you heard of open educational resources? Go in and to look at the open education resources. There are also some materials there that you can use. That one you don't have to ask for copyright reserve, copyright release. You can use it, but you have to quote the licensing in the Creative Commons license. CC by SA, CC by SA, non-commercial NC ataupun different licensing tagged to the materials. Okay, so you decide. So again, if you ask me if you want to hit the road paling cepat, you buy license. Of course, even though you buy, you got to adapt sedikit because sometimes it may be not due to UN, it may be due to other institutions punya requirement, context. Okay. So these are all policy. Let this be managed by ADEX. Adik. Okay. This should be your work. When you're writing, ask yourself these 4 things. Self-explanatory meaning is in the conversational writing style. Self-contained, I don't have to go anywhere in the world. Everything I need to know about the course is in my SIP. Even the link to additional learning materials already in my SIP. Self-contained. Self-directed, meaning there is instruction for them how to go from one section to another chapter, and progressively going to the final chapter. Clear instruction, self-directed. Self-paced, self-evaluating, meaning over time, I will know whether I've achieved the learning outcome for the first chapter, second chapter, third chapter, etc. So this is what we call self-paced, self-evaluating. Okay, these are the roles of SIM. I'll share with Professor Miss Laiha later and all of you. This is a house style. The ADEC has to have a house style. That means there's a house style for SIM development in UM across all faculties in UM. Banyak jenis. You see, these are the things that you have to align. It's all about ID here now. Of course, this is really already no more this time. Okay, now it's more chunky. Okay, this is for course developer. What kind of course material you have now? Now this is same, right? Then this is course guide. This is course guide for tutors. It means you have actually a buku panduan for cikgu, buku panduan for pelajar. This buku panduan is not about the content of the course. This buku panduan is telling them berapa unit, apakah assessment, bilakah tutorial akan dikendalikan, bilakah submission of assignment, then what is the weightages of the assessment, continuous assessment and final assessment. All this will be in your course guide. Okay, there are 2 benda. This is something like your course pro forma or course file. Okay. This is a unit structure of the whole thing. Okay. Now, I guess that's about all. I understand the adept has actually asked some of you to direct questions to me. I have answered those questions, but all in the slide in the first, not the first, probably last 10 slides. So I will share with you, your answers are actually embedded in them. Okay, I'll share with either Hadi or Prof. Laiha. Okay, because of the time constraint. And thank you so much for your active participation. And of course, I nak mohon maaf sekiranya terdapat kata-kata atau tindakan yang mengiris sanubari kamu ataupun views and thoughts yang telah menodai ingat pemikiran kamu. I'm very, very sorry. Sebelum jemari saya, I would say I'm so sorry. And I wish you all the best. And you must remember, the beginning of the journey is not going to be easy. But when you start off, you, how to say, tabah and sabah, you will reap the fruit of your labor. I'm very sure you will enjoy this journey. Trust me. It's just that the first part of the journey, dia macam tak berapa strong. Okay, so with that, I end with a pantun. Dalam beluka ada rotan. Dalam peti ada mengkudu. Dalam kata ada ingatan, dalam hati ada rindu. Thank you so much. I was asking Prof, can I take a picture with all of you?
Yeah.